On that note, the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice have both received a lot of criticism for the way they have responded to the situation in Gaza. And yet they did release apply for arrest warrants for both the leadership of Israel and Hamas under their jurisdiction. In your eyes, what relevance do those two courts actually have?
I think that they have a lot of relevance. First of all, we did not create them. The ICJ was created by the victors of World War II, which, by the way, it was the majority of nations in the Western Hemisphere. They created that highest court in the globe, the legal arm of the United Nations, to deal with the disputes and issues from the legal framework of the ICJ.
I understand that.
Now,
but
the ICC, it was another product that was created by all of us, but in reality, the majority, the European countries and the West. And that court came into being after Rwanda and the other crimes against humanity and war crimes to go after individuals. The ICJ deals with states. The ICC deals with individuals. And in this case, the ICC stipulate its position on the concept of complementarity, meaning any country that cannot trial criminals of big crimes or is unwilling to do so, then the ICC will step in order to go after those criminals so that justice can prevail. In this case, Israel is not party to the ICC. We are a party to the ICC. So we took the case and we asked them, come and investigate war crimes and crimes against humanity, including the continuous war crime of settlements. Because from the perspective of the Rome Statute, which is the constitution of the ICC, or the Fourth Geneva Convention, both say it is a war crime and it is illegal to transfer population from the occupying power to the land of the occupied people. So therefore, we are saying, come and investigate these crimes and find who are committing these crimes, and we give you the full authority in the land of the state of Palestine to do so. Israel is not giving them the same right.
I hear what you're saying, Your Excellency. Well, I'm going back to the question of how effective do you think those two courts are for you?
There's always room for improvement of their effectiveness. They tend to be slow, especially the ICC, and we've been working with them for almost 10 years. And until now, the moment that we see that they issued warrant of arrest for the Israeli, prime minister and the war minister.
Civilians on both sides of this conflict have suffered, and I think sometimes when we are listening to the news, we're talking about the numbers, we're talking about large numbers, obviously in the case of the Palestinians, the displaced, the hostages taken and so on. We often forget that there are individual lives involved in this conflict on both sides. And I wonder when you, I'll be speaking, for example, to the family of an Israeli hostage later. And I wonder, when you think about the Israeli side, what goes through your head when it comes to these individuals, as opposed to the politics of the state?
Well, let me just first of all say that history did not start on October 7, as correctly stated by the Secretary General of the United Nations. We've been living as Palestinians this miserable life as humans and as individuals for the last 76 years. And people were not interested about the suffering of individuals during all this period of time. They started talking about the suffering of individuals after October 7. Let me just say in this connection, we are against harming innocent civilians by anyone under any conditions. But that should not be only restricted to the suffering of the Israeli individuals. We've been suffering tremendously, including during this war. On the Gaza Strip, the suffering is beyond imaginations of what is really happening, of genocide to our people in the Gaza Strip. By many, they say that they haven't seen such cruelty and suffering of people since World War II as they see now happening to the Palestinian people. And if you are going to interview individuals from Israeli families. We brought about a dozen individuals from Palestinian families who have almost all members of their families obliterated and killed in the Gaza Strip. Suffering is not restricted or the monopoly of one group. Suffering is suffering for all humans, and they should not be suffering, and those who are causing the suffering should be punished.
My objective is to speak to both sides, Ambassador, so it's not, the reason I asked that question is because we do speak obviously to the Palestinian side. The conflict, as you say, or the situation having lasted now 76 years means it's very hard to find Palestinians who've not been affected directly. What's the case when it comes to you? What have you experienced personally?
Well, I had members of my extended family that lost life in the Gaza Strip, and also all along since the Nakba, I have members of my extended family that lost lives, were imprisoned, were expelled, became refugees, suffered immensely, and continuing to suffer. For me, my father and my mother and all of my siblings, we did not spend one day in our life all together. We tried to do it the end of the 70s in Ohio for the wedding of the late younger brother of mine. My father died before that happened, and we never implemented that dream of spending one day, all of us, my father, my mother, and all of my siblings. It did not happen.
And I presume you, through your relationship with people in the Palestinian areas, you know a lot of people who've gone through a lot as well.
Absolutely. And when I say that we have about 20,000 orphans, all of their immediate families were eliminated. So it is the collective responsibility of the Palestinian nation to take care of those individuals that there are our children. And it adds to other tragedies that we're facing in terms of the large number who have lost limbs, who have, tremendous psychological trauma and distress. So that we have a lot of repair to do. We have a lot of reconstruction to do. We have a lot to put the life of our people back together, particularly in the Gaza Strip. We have a huge tall order of things to do, but we need to have a ceasefire in place to allow us to begin that process.